So for the past couple of weeks, I have been practicing the Kaisa matchup, because from my experience with the Darius deck, it's pretty favored into everything else than Kaisa and Ahri, but I mean Ahri is not that popular, and it also depends on what the Ahri deck is, because if the Ahri deck is less unit heavy, then usually Darius has the advantage. And I decided to show you a couple of best of threes into Kaisa with this deck, and maybe tell you some of my reasoning behind some of the cards that I have changed in my deck. My side deck does look pretty different now, and in general, just some good gameplay footage. So I always start with the Trifarian Warcamp. It's just a good all-arounder, and you know, Darius is probably the best deck to abuse Trifarian Warcamp, and unfortunately my start here would have been the dream start if I had one yellow rune, but I didn't have any yellow runes to use my seal on, because unfortunately I drew 2 red runes, so I have to pass without playing any cards, which does suck. So next turn the Vanguard Captain comes down with the Noxian Hopeful, so I did have a pretty good turn 2, which kinda makes up for the lack of units on turn 1. And I also have the Baited Hook in hand, so I'm looking pretty good here. Unfortunately, the opponent kills both my Vanguard Captain and my Noxian Hopeful for 3 runes, and he also draws from the Stupefy, so this is why I hate playing against Kaisa, because he just played 2 spells, only tapped 3 runes, and even drew a card, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. He conquers the left battlefield, I conquer the right battlefield, I play the Baited Hook, and I just hook the token because it's a 2 might in the war camp, and I find another Vanguard Captain, which is great, especially because I have the Grand Stratagem in hand, so I just want to find cheap units and as much as possible. I'm unfortunately way behind in points, and the opponent plays even more units and conquers the right battlefield. So this Kaisa had a very good early game with the Falling Star Stupefy, 2 Noxious Hopefuls, and somehow he has more units than me. So right now we're just kind of both hitting each other with all of our units, just to see who runs out of fuel first, which is pretty funny actually, because my hand is only units, the Kaisa hand was mostly units, so all we're doing here is just attacking each other and seeing just who runs out of units or cards first. And I sacrifice my Darius to the left battlefield to conquer it. I know it's gonna die in the Void Gate, but at this rate I'm way ahead in tempo because of my hook and my Grand Stratagem. So I'm not really worried about my Darius dying, or I'm not even worried about if I take bad trades. All I want are points. So finally when I play the Grand Stratagem, it can finish the game. And I just have to make sure that when I finally out-tempo the Kaisa, I can actually end the game. Kaisas do run, you know, Watchers and Time Warps. So I don't want to take it too slow. Even if I'm ahead, I still need to, you know, put the Kaisa on a clock, you would say. He sacrifices his Kaisa to conquer the battlefield. He's 1 point ahead, but his board is looking pretty weak. Unfortunately, I drew another Grand Stratagem, but because the Kaisa is tapped out, I can just conquer the battlefield for free with Vayne, because he cannot even play any battle tricks. So it's very important to keep the enemy's rune count in check, because if the enemy had even 1 rune up, I most likely wouldn't have attacked the right battlefield with Vayne, because, you know, it's Kaisa. I then Baited Hook the Vayne. I could have played Draven here, but like I said, because of the Grand Stratagems, I just want to go as wide as possible, because 2 tokens with the Grand Stratagem is almost as strong as a Draven, and I also need Baited Hook targets for my next turns. The enemy plays 2 units, which is amazing for me, because then it means his hand is pretty dry. I conquer both battlefields, I play Baited Hook, and I just go wide. I just get insane Baited Hook targets, and the enemy just surrenders. And there was really nothing he could do. This game was pretty weird, because usually Kaisa, you know, outlasts you using spells that draw, while Darius' hook itself has a very little amount of draw, but Kaisa's hand was so unit heavy that because I had Baited Hook, I could just throw everything against the Kaisa again and again and get baited hook value every turn, and slowly he ran out of units, while baited hook is basically an infinite unit farm. So it's pretty hard to win against Darius with, units. Usually you lose to Kaisa or Ahri or etc. because of, some spells or some debuffs like Watcher, but Darius always wins if the game is just units against units. I'm bad at explaining it, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. For game 2 I did have a pretty okay start with the manufacturer, but unfortunately the enemy also had very good early game units, and I decided to just go aggressive with the Darius so I can cycle through my hand, because my hand was looking pretty bad. Then he killed off my Darius, which allowed me to hidden blade my own Darius. So I drew 2, discarded 1 to draw another one. So I cycled through 3 cards there, which is pretty good. And I also found the hook. I probably should have kept Void Seeker mana up here. Instead I went for the hook into Poro, and I did find the Vanguard Captain, but my hand was so unit heavy that I would have probably won this game if I just killed the Noxus Hopeful off with the Void Seeker and kinda never let the Kaisa get points. All I needed to do here was to get ahead in points, so I could just win the game with, running the Kaisa over with units. Now the Kaisa played a Sprite Mother and obviously conquered the other battlefield with the Noxian Hopeful, and suddenly I'm behind in points and I'm also attacking into the Kaisa and just giving Kaisa a lot of value when the Kaisa leaves runes up. So instead I could have just Void Seeker the Noxus Hopeful and I wouldn't have had to worry about the points getting out of control, especially when I had a Vayne in hand, and I could have just accelerated Vayne next turn. So that was a misplay. I am going very wide here, but the enemy just conquers both battlefields again with the Darius, and I obviously have to deal with the enemy's Darius and units in general, so he doesn't get points from holding. And I was also forced to play the Draven to the battlefield because he could just accelerate Kaisa and conquer the right battlefield and win. And this way my Draven was stuck on the right and he just put everything to the left. I found the falling star, but unfortunately I was 1 damage off from killing everything on the left. So I was literally 1 damage off from winning this game, which does suck, but it is what it is. And I didn't find an accelerated unit from my hook, so I did lose the game. And I'm pretty sure if I did Void Seeker that 1 hopeful, I would have most likely won this, because as you could see, Kaisa was also running out of cards. All I needed to do was not let Kaisa get too ahead in points, and I almost still won the game. It was 1 damage off, but yeah, that's the problem with Kaisa. If you make 1 or 2 mistakes, the game is most likely instantly over. Kaisa punishes mistakes so hard, and that's why we practice. I learned a ton from these games, and especially game 3, I learned a lot. And from these couple best of 3s, I think I changed like 3 to 4 cards in my deck. So practicing these matchups is pretty important. I realized Void Seeker is actually not that good in the Kaisa. So game 3, my start was actually pretty bad. I just had to play a baited hook on my turn 1 with the Noxian Hopeful, and the enemy Void Seekered my Noxian Hopeful before I could even score. I started with the arena's greatest battlefield and suddenly I'm 2 points behind already, which is pretty crazy. And here I have the Void Seeker in my hand for the rest of the game. Like, I couldn't use the Void Seeker even once. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. And I just vomit out all of my hand, go as wide as possible, and I guess I should have kept my Void Seeker runes up. So maybe the Void Seeker isn't bad, maybe I'm just bad. So, that could also be the case. Suddenly the enemy is at 6 points already, and I have to spread my units as evenly as I can. He clears the right side. I use my Shen and my Void Seeker, which barely just kill his Raven Bloom. And I draw into another seal from the Void Seeker, and I just lose the game like that. So I lost this game in like 5 minutes, and my starting hand had Shen and Void Seeker, which both are my side deck cards. So after this game I did cut the Void Seeker. I mean, I thought it was good for Arena's Greatest, but I realized I would rather have more units just to make sure that when I'm going first, I will actually get to play a unit on my turn 1. So Void Seeker is good, but it's also bad with an Arena's Greatest, or I could have also just played it better and actually kept Void Seeker mana up. So I did learn a lot from this best of 3. I changed about 3 to 5 cards in my deck. I took the Void Seeker out, I changed my main deck, and etc, etc. The deck link will be in the description. And after that, I actually started to win these best of 3s into the Kaisa. And if you're wondering who I'm playing against, this is a pretty good player that's also attending the Houston Regionals, and he asked if we could scrim against each other because his playgroup didn't have any Darius Hook players. So thank you to his Discord name is Ricochet. Thank you to Ricochet for letting me also practice the Kaisa matchup, because I realized from these games that I was not ready for tournaments, and now I feel like, you know, I have been enlightened. I finally know how to play in the Kaisa. I finally know how to build in the Kaisa. So this is what my side deck looks like right now. I went from 2 Shens to only 1 Shen, no more Void Seeker, and I changed a couple of things. I decided I want to be a little bit more aggressive, so I took the 3rd Grand Stratagem away. The 3rd Grand Stratagem was only for the Yi matchup, and I also put 1 Vayne in side deck and 1 Vayne in the main deck. So 2 Vaynes for the Arena's Greatest games. So I changed a couple of things and I instantly saw good success with it. I obviously got an amazing start in this game. I went super wide compared to the Kaisa in this game, but I also put more units in my deck, so that's why I drew more units. I don't have as many spells anymore, and I have started to side deck the 3rd seal out when I play the Arena's Greatest game. 3 seals is a little bit too risky. The enemy conquers the left battlefield with Darius, but I already get to 5 points, and I even found the hook with the 2nd seal, which the 2nd seal is pretty bad, and this is why 3 seals in the deck is a little bit annoying sometimes. But my start was so great that it's fine. I get my own Darius from the hook, and this is why I have the one-off extra Darius in my deck for the Trifarian Warcamp game, because the Trifarian Warcamp just allows me to cheat out a sneaky Darius sometimes pretty consistently. I'm kinda running out of cards, but it's fine because I got so ahead in points that even if the enemy played the Watcher, the enemy surrendered because it wasn't enough. And we already go to game 2. I also like to side deck a little bit differently for the 2nd game, because if I win the 1st game, there is a 99% chance that I'm going 2nd in the 2nd game. So I side deck with the idea in mind that I'm gonna have 3 runes on the 2nd game, and I usually take out the 4th Poro. I have 4 Poros in my deck, but when I'm going 2nd, I will have 3 runes, and this allows me to play Faithful Manufacturer on turn 1, and going 2nd in general just gives me so many more options with the 3 runes. So that's why when you know you're going 2nd, you can side deck a little bit differently. You don't need those 2 costs that much anymore, because you can also play 3 cost cards. A good thing to keep in mind. Now the enemy played Arena's Greatest, but my start is once again amazing. The Seal Vanguard combo into a hook, and I once again drew the 2nd seal. But it's fine because this is a zone game, so if I really have to, I can just discard the seal away and draw something else. And that's why I like zone, and it's my favorite battlefield. Like, the zone effect is probably my favorite battlefield effect in the game, because it can really unbrick your hands, and it's especially important for aggro decks like Darius. The enemy got rid of my captain and my maiden, but he did commit a lot of cards and runes to get rid of those. So I was pretty fine with that, because now I can just Darius into Trifarian Glory Seeker, and unfortunately my Darius did die, but I'm fine with it because my thought process here was that if the enemy has another smoke screen in hand, it means his hand is pretty bad. He only has 2 cards left if he plays this second smoke screen, and even if my Darius dies, I'm pretty fine with just getting that information out that the enemy is just running dry. I hook the Trifarian, I find a Spectral Maiden, and I just jam out all of my units. I have a Falling Star in hand, so I'm pretty certain that I can just wipe the enemy's board next turn with my units plus my Falling Star. He did Icathian Rain me, which is pretty bad, but now that he used Icathian Rain and he knows that I have a Hidden Blade on my board, he can't really contest the right battlefield, so this buys me another turn. There's no way he can get 2 points in a single turn here, so I can just play down the Draven and the Poro and just Falling Star next turn, attack with the Draven, with the Poro, and yeah, I win the game here. He did have the Cleave into Watcher combo, but because he played the Icathian Rain, he didn't have runes for the Watcher, and that's why he couldn't conquer both battlefields in one turn. And in this game, the Zone Warrent's battlefield did kinda save me. It let me discard the other seal and draw more cards, which kinda unbricked my hand and accelerated me quite a bit, because then I found everything I really needed, and while I was kind of finding my key cards to end the game, I was also forcing the enemy to answer my board that was growing in my home base. And when he played that Icathian Rain, he recycled under Watcher mana and insta-lost the game. I have also found great success with Kaisa after these games, and I might just upload a part 2 of just the Kaisa matchup gameplay probably later next week, because this weekend I want to focus on the Runes and Rift tournament. It has a $10 buy-in, and I want to see how well will I do in an actual tournament with cash prizes and a cash buy-in. Maybe this will be a big reality check for me, or maybe I'll do good, but I will for sure make a video about that tournament too. So if you enjoy this random gameplay and yapping, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.